Well, everybody knows the Zimbabwean voice now, that's for sure. And it's a beautiful voice, that one. One of unity, one of togetherness, one of peace, one of love, you know. That's the way forward. Oga, Oga.
Farai, thank you so much for your time, my man. I appreciate it. I guess for everyone listening, so Farai, of course, I've known you my whole life, you know, and the reason I thought this interview would be important would be because you've had a very interesting story and journey to the path in getting to where you're at right now. So I thought it would be terrific to kind of chat to you because for the most part, there are not many Zimbabwe rugby players that are playing professionally in France. In fact, I can't really, maybe I've seen one, Takuzo Ngwenya, but you guys are in many ways blazing a new trail for a lot of Zimbabwean athletes. And I think with that platform, it's terrific if you can kind of get a sense around how you got there, you know, and kind of show some elements of what the journey has been like. So I thought it would be good to have this conversation. But before then, I'll just ask you, you know, how you've been and how what's been happening.
Jimmy, thanks so much for having me on. I know we go a long way, and yeah, I mean, ever since we're kids and stuff like that. So yeah. For me to be chatting to you today is a massive honor, and it's as cool as usual. Like we have the greatest chats and the greatest energy between both of us. So yeah, it's cool. But yeah, it's just for myself. I'm doing okay. I'm doing well. Life, I would say, has taken a turn.
For the better or for the worse?
For the better or for the I'm sure we'll get into it. But yeah, obviously the last, I would say, 2 years has been a bit tricky for everyone. For everyone.
Yes.
But yeah, I also felt within that period. But then I would say things are back on track. You're never happy. You know, there's always something. There's always something that can
be done, right?
As soon as you get that job that you wanted, then you're on to the next thing.
There's a new mountain to climb.
Which is crazy about life. Like and that's something as I've been getting older, it's something I'm learning, that just being present in the space that you're in, or whatever period of time you're in, to be more present in that time, you move with more gratitude. You're just more grateful about everything that's going on around you. So being present is something I am learning, but it's very tough because, like I said,
and what drew you to that realization? You know what I'm saying? Like, what was the thing where you said, there's something that I'm not doing, where I'm always looking for what's next. And before maybe looking for what's next, maybe I should learn to be more present. So but that comes with an experience, right? So what drew you to that realization?
So it's actually quite funny. I said it to, I've been working on some content with a guy called Kays, and Kays is he does Rising Stars, and Rising Stars is like a movement where, it started off as a movement where Kays would make highlights packages for guys, and then they would use these highlights packages to get scholarships in the States.
Yes,
if you look on the gram,
Zimbabwean athletes, right?
Zimbabwean athletes, he works with really cool people. And then I approached him, and I was just like, we need to do something together. But when we were filming the content, I said to him, I was like, just in general, but I realized it more. I would say I realized it, back to the point you said, I realized it more in COVID. We are not in as much control as we actually think we are in this whole in this whole life. Like you think you've got the play sorted out. You think you're Tom Brady. You think first quarter pass completion, I'm throwing all these passes. Yes. But then you are not in control, because
then life punches in the mouth.
Yeah, essentially, bro, like who would have thought Bitcoin was going to drop? Who would have thought COVID was going to come?
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought those things? The recession, 2008. Who would have thought inflation would have happened, like in Zim in 2008 and stuff like that? Like we're not in control of our lives, and I think the more you come to terms with it, I think it will make life a little bit more easier. In the sense that you know that things aren't forever, things come and go.
Yes.
You win some, you lose some. That type
so whilst
of thing.
you have certain things, be present as best as you can
and enjoy it. Enjoy
Yes.
it whilst you're there. Like if you're winning in life, you enjoy it, and then when you're down,
that's what it is for that.
You wait until you start winning again. Like
you start winning, right?
Yeah, you know what I mean.
So where are you right now? So where you, as we speak right now, where are you kind of based right now, and what club are you playing for? Just so we have a little bit more context around.
So a bit more context. Yeah, I spent the last 2 years in the UK, and then now I'm in Central France playing for a team called Nevers in the town of Nevers. The club is actually called Usson, Union Sportive du Nièvre, and Nièvre is this region in France. So it's cool to be. So it's my second time in France. Obviously, having spent time in Est and Tarbes, and I have really good things to say about France. I think
it's been very good to you. It's been very
it's been really good.
I guess for the most part, at least.
Like I even realized the other day I was on the phone with my mom, and she's like, Farai, you know what? Like when you're in France, I'm at peace because I just know you're so happy there, and you enjoy your time there. And I was just like, yeah, Mom, you know what? Like now that you say it, the UK.
But I think it's important because Zimbabweans, like we always go to, like there's certain handful of countries we always go to. Sometimes South Africa, sometimes England, and we don't even realize there are other options in which. And I'm not saying we have to, but human beings can live anywhere in the world, right?
We can expand.
But France is also an option. Like it doesn't have to be Anglophone country.
Can expand, dude. It's like I always make a joke like with my mom. It's like when Zimbabweans go on holiday, Dubai, States, SA. But like okay, in the last like if you can always see the trend. Like it used to be Joburg, now it's strictly Cape Town.
That's the
every Zimbabwean Cape Town. As soon as you say another country, like guys, let's go to Spain. They're like Spain, Kunechigo.
Spain.
Spain.
What do we? There's a lot actually. There's a lot
to do.
Good.
So I feel like in Zimbabwe we can expand. We can do things elsewhere.
France is a
France is a
right?
Yeah,
and
I would say even for especially if you have a family, France is a really good place to have like children and the rest of it. So if anyone out there is listening, if you want to have kids, if you're having kids, and France is a nice place to have kids, and
France is a cool place
and build your family.
Okay, well, maybe let's take it back. Look, I can maybe safely say for a lot of people, when you're born, let's be like in Harare or what have you, France isn't always like a dream, if that makes it. Like it's not always like a dream to say, oh, one day I'll be in France. Oh, and I say that to say, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of random. So I think the reason I want to take it back is to kind of get a sense as to where you're born and get a sense as to how you got from Zim all the way to France, and just so we have a little bit more color there. So so maybe let's take it back and see, where were you born, your family, where did you go to school, all of that good stuff, and I'll ask you questions as we go.
So I was born obviously in Harare, in Zimbabwe, H-Town boy.
H-Town.
So born on my show, you know the vibes.
City of the Restless.
Yeah, City of the Restless.
City of the Restless,
City of the Restless, Harare. So I was born in Harare, 13th of Feb. Weird enough, same.
We were born on the same day.
3 years later. 3 years later.
We share a birthday.
We share a birthday, which is like, and we're cousins, which is and how close we are, and
exactly.
It's just weird. And Tende, obviously, our other cousin.
Yes, Tende, exactly.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So obviously, I'm one of two boys. And growing up, like I spent most like my time with my grandparents, being raised in their home with loads of my cousins, which is quite weird because they're all girls. So like eight of them. Yeah, eight.
Yes.
Eight is the number. So yeah, and then Hilton and I were the only boys essentially.
Yes, and Hilton's your brother, right? And
Hilton's my brother. Hilton's my older brother.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, and obviously you've been a part of the
course.
picture. Yeah, going to school at Heritage, onto St. John's, and then moving on to.
So at Heritage, you went to grade 1 at where? At Heritage?
Yeah, and I think I was at a preschool called Maranatha. I was at a preschool called Maranatha where my memories are vague. Yes. But then when I started becoming conscious and like taking note of things, like I would say the journey started at Heritage. That's when I can like remember. I have the fondest memories, and going on from Heritage, I can trace back my life, and then going forward.
And how many years did you spend there? Did you spend 2 or 3 years there, or was it?
Yeah, I spent about 2 or 3 years at Heritage. Yeah, crazy school. When it first started off,
they came with punch in the beginning.
They came with that.
Yo, my fondest school memories, I would say, were those my 4 years there.
Yeah, like it was just like wonderful. How can a brand new school be that good?
It was wonderful.
Great school. Like
it was at the time. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, at the time it was phenomenal. So like, I had good memories there, and then like there was sort of, as you know, like an exodus of people just leaving to go to St. John's, and then the girls obviously going to schools like Chiswick, where Jane obviously ended up.
Jane, who is my sister's favorite snake, so that you guys know. Okay. And was that where did you first start playing sports in general? Was it at Heritage, or was it when you moved to St. John's? And what sports did you play?
Okay, so funny how I say on the sports side, like my sports, like my fondest memories of sport is playing in the back garden at Merrick Park, which is my grandparents' house where I grew up. In the back there would like play cricket, and there was like a massive yard, and then there was like where we used to grow maize, like Chibagi, and there was like a field
at the back.
And I remember like the fondest memories of like me bowling to Hilton, and then him just smashing the ball as hard as he could and be like, go fetch.
That guy, the most competitive person, is so competitive.
So competitive.
Your brother is so competitive. I was like, and you would push. You would push. Like, Farai, go up like this. You would push you. You'd push you.
Which sort of in hindsight, it helped because when I got to playing with my age mates, and I always say this, I was like way above. Like I was just the level was just
because you're playing with your brother who was a very good athlete, and he'd always push you to be on his level.
Stuff. Like I remember like holidays, Hilton would make me pass with him because obviously he was a scrum half and fly half, so he didn't work on his passing. When I got to start playing rugby, like actual games, I could pass with both hands easy without even blinking. But then for other guys,
just by playing at home.
For other guys, they're like, they're trying to spin the ball. I'm like, guys, come on. You know what I mean? I was like, without boasting, it was just like, come on. I was like, come on.
So your first sporting memories weren't even really at school, really. It was just like at home. Yeah, just playing at sport at home.
At sport at home. And it's so funny. Like I used to get my grandparents, and then obviously they were old. So there was one section of the house where like they could sit. So we would like put chairs out for them, and like make drinks for them. And then like would be like batting, like, no, you need to clap us on. You clap us on. And they were so stressed. It was just like
these grandkids.
And for them, like the only sports they sort of grew up following were like football, netball, your tennis, and stuff like that. Then cricket and rugby, which Hilton and I mainly played, were sort of new sports for them. And I guess for them, they didn't have access to those
sports. It wasn't an available opportunity, right?
Yeah, it wasn't an available opportunity because those sports were played by white people essentially, and were only closed off to the white population. So yeah, it was funny. And I remember another memory I have of is trying to teach my granddad how to play rugby. And like And he'll be like, "Kulu, move my day."
Oh gosh.
And I'm sure he was just like, oh.
Ball placement to a 78-year-old man.
It's so funny. I was actually speaking about that with my dad when I was back home a couple of weeks ago, and we were dying, just laughing. I was just like, geez, when you said the story, I was like, oh, geez, I actually remember that.
You thought, well, it's so cool because at least it wasn't in vain, right? Sometimes these grandparents like, these boys are going to drive me crazy, but now look, right? It actually it paid. It actually like, wow, it paid dividends. So,
and I think. And you know what's funny about that? Like, you say that, but then I think, okay, if I look at the way my parents set things up, I think they knew it was an avenue. I think they could tell, like, from because if I look at the support they gave us for sport, it almost outweighs like the support they gave us even for like things like academics and like playing musical instruments. And stuff like that. Like when it came to rugby tours, rents would always be there. They'd be like, nah, rugby tour. Rugby tour, we have to be there. Like, we have to. We just have to push it. It's like almost as if they knew that, like, nah, these boys can.
This is the thing we have to invest in.
Yeah, we need to invest in. So they invested heavily. Like I wouldn't say they were the parents to be shouting on the sideline. No, they just watch. They'd be like, enjoy yourselves, and they would be there and make sure. We had the capacity and we were facilitated to reach the levels we managed to reach.
I think say more about that because I remember I went to gym with you once because there was a time we were gymming together a lot, and we were in the gym, and I think we were just finished taking a shower, and there were a bunch of guys that were, I would say, our parents' generation, and they were all 40s, 50s. You remember this day? You remember this day? And then I think this guy's daughter was thinking of going to Australia to play, I think, some sport. I forget what the sport was.
I remember.
And then the whole gym, they just start, to do what? They remember just thinking like, that was actually status quo. The norm, in fact, is for young Zimbabweans, like, if you're to want to pursue a career in sport or anything that is not maybe or a sport, actually, it's a pretty radical idea from that upper generation in many ways. Like, it's not a common thing. So I think maybe speak more to like what it meant for your parents to almost invest in the way that they did, because they aren't the norm. And for the most part, like most parents, like they seem crazy in many ways to most people.
It wasn't normal.
Are these parents serious? Do you know what I mean? So maybe speak more to that and say how important they've been in that journey.
Yeah, they played a massive part because, like, I look back, always had the best kit.
Yeah.
Always had the best boots, always had the best cricket equipment. And my parents were doing well at the time, but then I wouldn't say my parents were making rich.
But they invested and made sure that you had the best tools to perform your craft at the highest level.
Yes. And even on a larger scale, I think when they started, or when they had Hilton, and then obviously I came to the picture 2 years later, I think the decision my parents made, they said, education is a must. We're not going to build the fancy house now. We're not going to drive the Benz now.
Yes.
But these kids need to go to the best schools.
Best exposure. Everybody used to say this word, exposure. They used to love
exposure. That's the word they used.
The word they would use was exposure.
Exposure. And it wasn't even about being an A student. It wasn't about doing all of that. It was just the exposure. And when you put exposure leads to expansion.
Exposure leads to expansion.
Exposure
leads to expansion. It's true though. But it's real though, Farai, because you talk about earlier, your grandparents only knew soccer, maybe netball, and those were the avenues. Because how would you know if rugby or cricket is a real career athlete, if you've never, a career opportunity, if you've never been exposed?
If you've never known, exactly. and this is I think the duty I have then, like as a Zimbabwean athlete, I'm not only playing to earn a decent amount of money.
Yes.
I need to sort of, I'm representation basically of
correct
a life you can build for yourself.
Yes.
You're
walking possibility.
Yeah, I actually went to visit St. John's Prep when I was back home. And I went to go speak to the kids. And these guys were in grade 7, some of them in grade 5. I was speaking to them, but like, you look around at kids, you're like, they're not even like listening. They
aren't clocking this.
But they're sponges. They're listening to everything that's.
Yes.
But with the questions they asked me afterwards.
What kind of questions were they asking?
I was even shook because I was like, were you guys even listening? Like, they didn't look at me. They were like, so sorry, sir. Can you tell me if I wanted to play professional rugby, can I like logical questions? They're like, can I build a life for myself and send my kid to school? Could you ask me questions like that? And I was like, yeah, you can.
Yeah, wow. Kids that's young, what, 10 years old are thinking.
10 years old.
I know the question I need to ask myself is, can I make a living off this thing?
Can I make a living off this? They were asking me those questions. And the feedback that I got from Mr. Bundire and Weli, who's the coach at John's Prep, they were like, we need to do that again. But like assembly, because these guys were phoning their parents, telling them, we had Farai was.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah, Farai was this professional rugby player. He came to speak to us today. He gave us a rugby jersey. He was sat here a couple of years ago. Mr. Bundire was his coach. If Mr. Bundire was his coach, then I can also.
Exactly.
I can also do the same thing. So I have a huge role to play in that sense. Like representation is crazy. That's why you see, like, for example, like one of my heroes, Anthony Joshua.
Yes.
Anthony Joshua has made it possible that a black boy from South London sat in his room can say to himself, I can be the next AJ. Like if AJ can do it, he came from exactly the same ends. AJ's from Watford, but like he came, all the guys in Watford can be like, I can do this.
For sure. Farai walked the same hallways as I did here at St. John's.
Same hallways.
Mr. Bundire was his coach. He played for them under 20 and play. Like there should be no reason why I can't do it as well. And I think this is why exactly why I wanted to have this conversation, or like even have this platform, if I can call it that, is to say, to shine light on people like you on your journey, not only for like kids, but then also for parents as well. Because it is both. Kids can believe, right? But what you're kind of saying in terms of the support your parents gave, if there's no support from the parent side, sometimes dreams can get stifled in their infancy and we're at seed stage. Yeah. So if we can have conversations around possibilities and what the route looks like, kids can believe, parents can believe, and then almost like what possibilities can there then be for any athlete or any person who wants to achieve anything, any Zimbabwean person who wants to achieve anything. You know what I'm saying?
Representation is massive. Yeah. Like I'll give you like another example. So I went to Cornwallis, right, in South Africa. That's where I did like after St. John's. That's where I was in school, and that was like the main feeder school to my class. And obviously, we found that out when you and Hilton had started at my class. Then you know we found out that Cornwallis was like the main feeder. So that's where I ended up going. And I did a talk in Zim. So Cornwallis came to Zim to do like an expo, and I gave a speech as like to the parents and
an old boy.
Yeah, as an old boy, strictly old boy. And then I was just basically giving them juice on what Cornwallis was like, what it's like moving as a boarder. Because obviously I moved to a different country, boarding school at the age of 10, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't know how I did it. Like even for I understand now when my parents were crying the day they left me. Like I understand now that I would never.
You're 10 years old.
10-year-old. Like it must have been a bold step.
Our child.
Bold step from them and bold step from myself. But I gave us a speech at this Cornwallis Expo that year. 5 guys enrolled to Cornwallis.
Really?
Yeah. For me,
that was oh gosh.
Yeah.
Oh
And
gosh.
for me, the thing is, I just did that speech like, I don't know, I'd probably come from a night out or whatever, and then the next day I was like, oh,
fine, I'll do it. I'll do it.
I was
Whatever.
like, oh, I need to go to this Code Wallace thing. That, it's
Yes.
not even. But okay, now that I look back, 5 people enrolled to the school that year.
Man,
and
that's through your story and the power of that, right?
Yeah,
That's
and
just
that's
like
a sign,
entry experience.
and that's just a sign of representation. Like if you can show people it can be done or it has been done, then people will follow suit. Like it's just
people follow suit.
That's simple.
Huge, dude, phenomenal. Okay, so on that point, right? I think we touched on, of course, how you were at St. John's, and then we went from Heritage to St. John's, right? And at St. John's, you were there for a very brief period, a year or 2.
Yeah, I think it was
a year or 2. I'll say a year and a half, really. Year and a half, right?
I didn't go at the beginning.
You kind of came in.
Beginning of the year. I just sort of came in like second term, like boom.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. And then I think the thing I want to maybe touch on is we spoke about how what rugby was like there for you and kind of the coaches that you had. But then you had almost an interesting transition, which you just touched on earlier, which was to go from Heritage to St. John's, to go to South Africa at 10, at 10 years old. How did that come about, and how did that how did that even come about, and what impact did that have on you as a young man or young boy, if I can call it that?
Best decision my parents have made for me. I wouldn't say they made the decision. I also had a part to play. I also had to say yes, because essentially they came to ask me. So if we scale back, 2008, Zimbabwe, the pits.
It was peak.
Dude, no one could tell me anything. No one could tell me. I was
it's history.
I was there.
You were there, right?
I was there, bro. Coming to think of it, I was like, guys, how can we accept this? This is not life. It was
how did we get through it? How did we get through it? It was mad.
Parents were driving to South Africa to get food.
Yes.
So we had food.
Buy groceries.
So we had food. Like there was no food in the shops. I remember, like, it got to the point where, like, my parents would travel. I would be alone at home with, like, someone obviously to take care of me. Or I'd go to my aunt's house. And yeah, my parents were just like, nah, like, there's no way he can live like this. He's a child, and
yes,
I think the best thing for him would be to go to boarding school.
In a more stable environment.
And I think for them, it was sort of hard for them, I guess, at the time, because they were sort of like, oh, we're doing this to our child, like, type thing, if you know what I mean. So they sat me down and they were like, Farai, this is a situation. You can see it with your own eyes. Hard cuts. There's nothing in the shops. What do you think about going to boarding school? What do you think about going? So fine, I'll go to boarding school, but then I want to go to South Africa. Like, if it's going to be boarding school, I'm going to go to South Africa. I'm staying to no.
Because across the country, it's a lot.
Yes,
right now.
It's a lot, and you guys were already there.
Yes.
As in Hilton and yourself, doing you guys had started my class, so I was like, I'm also trying to do the same thing. Then obviously my class was in a high school, so then schools like Code Wallace came up, Clifton.
And Code Wallace, which is what, like a prep school in South Africa?
Yeah, it's a prep school in South Africa. Was actually built by my class. Is a couple of my class boys.
Yes.
Well, actually, no. James Cameron Todd had things. He had something to do with the building of Code Wallace, because obviously they wanted.
James Cameron Todd, who's the founder of Michael House.
Yeah, who's the founder of Michael House.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so almost like a St. John's, like a Peter House Rizawi situation.
Where you're feeding boys to schools, to the main school. Yeah, but obviously, Code Wallace,
Springville, Peter House, something like that. Okay.
Code Wallace, you have guys that go to other schools, your Marysville colleges, your Hilton colleges, your St. Charles's, just because Code Wallace happens to be in a place where there's an abundance of great high schools.
Yes.
Top-notch high schools. Great high schools. Worldwide.
World class.
Worldwide. World class
Yeah.
schools. Kearsley also.
Kearsley,
So great schools in that area. So in KZN. So, without too much stress, I was just like, I'll go to boarding school, but it has to be in South Africa. Then,
and was that tough? Because you have some parents who, I was listening to an interview on Sebastian Negri, who's a Italian rugby. Well, he's from Zim, from
great,
Macheke, actually.
Good guy, also good guy.
Well, yes. Yeah. So he's from Zim as well. But I remember him speaking about. I listened to a podcast with a guy called Richard Mokel, who we know, and he was doing an interview with Sebastian Negri, and he talked about how tough it was to go from Springville to South Africa and how they just did not like it. It was really difficult. And I say that to say, but not everyone's experience is the same. Eventually, of course, they got used to it, and then there were great successes at Springville and Hilton College afterwards.
Yeah.
But I say that to say, what was your experience like? Because you might have some parents who are listening now and might say, I've been thinking about this idea of sending my child to boarding school, not even South Africa, but anywhere else beyond, or even in Zim, right? You could have a parent has a child at Highlands in Harare who wants to send their child to Falcon or any boarding school for that matter.
Yeah.
What was that experience like for you at that particular age? And would you think it'll be is it a worthwhile thing?
Well, I just think what I'll say is I think I'm just a different breed, and for me, I do, and I think you just know the type of person I am. I just take it in my stride and
you just roll with it.
Just roll with it. Sort of don't have to overhype myself out of the situation.
You don't think too much about it. You just say,
don't think too much about it. So that's how simple it was for my parents. And for myself, essentially, when we made the decision, we just said, let's do it.
And if anyone was probably good at the boarding school, it was you. You're probably better at it than your brother. I'll tell you that. You're better at boarding school.
100%. 100%. I remember when you. Your boy. I remember I just when you're young, you just sort of listen to what your parents are saying.
Yes.
And I just remember saying Hilton's having a hard time. Just stay there.
What do you mean? There's no food here, bro. Just stay there. Don't be mad.
I remember him coming back. And I was just like, this guy's serious. We're in the trenches here, bro.
Inflation is going crazy.
Yeah, it's going crazy. You want to come back?
Are you sure?
Are you sure, bro? So I would say to any advice to anyone is just, you don't have to think too much about it. What will be, and it's not for everyone. That's the thing. You always try.
Fully.
People always try fit put each other in boxes, and it's not for everyone. For me, I was built for that situation. Obviously,
for sure,
there does come a level of compromise, essentially, because I know my brother is a guy who likes being close to home, and that's just who he is. Even if you look, I look at him, and I always think when he's in Zim, that's when he's his best.
That's when he's
South Africa. That's when he's himself. When he's come to the UK, obviously had a hard time, and he's gone away from home. South Africa became his home essentially. So it's something like that. But so it's not for everyone. But for me, my experience was great in the sense that I think I was just built for it. I remember the first day I arrived at Cornwallis at Pietermaritzburg, and on new boys there.
Yes.
Came there with my trunk and all my stuff, and then we flew down. My dad, my mom, and I, and then we went to the school. Then they did my bed for me, and so on and so forth. And then there was a guy we both know very well, Rem Kulusi.
Rem Kulusi.
Kululim Kulusi. Ray, the guy. The boy. Yeah, the boy. Yeah, he was in grade 7 at the time, and just was sort of my mentor. In my time there, Cornwallis, before he left, and he sort of took me under his wings, and he used to speak to my parents this is a great school.
He was phenomenal for you.
He's this is a great school. We're gonna take care of him. and so on and so forth. And obviously Ray went on to my class, and great guy, phenomenal.
You know, he's on the board of governors of the school now. You know that?
Yeah, like he's crazy. He's the youngest. He's the youngest.
Yeah,
the youngest ever, I think.
But I think that's what you want. What you want, guys like that who are nurturing.
Yeah, nurturing.
He was phenomenally nurturing, especially like for someone like you coming from Zim.
Yeah,
and he really took you under his wing and kind of took care of you throughout.
And then obviously built other relationships with guys like Mike Mvalas, Sneh Shilembe. These guys were all older than me then.
Yes.
In my own year, guys like Nzuzo, Dlamini, who went to Marisburg College and then came to my class at the end. We're like, Nzuzo, you should just come at the beginning, bro. Like, it's like, was that necessary? Was that necessary? So yeah, he ended up joining, which good guy. Like, but yeah, it was just a phenomenal time.
It was a great experience. It was a great experience for you.
For myself, and I think sport is a big part of my life. So if I touch on sports experiences from Cornwallis, and it's a trend that has always happened. Sort of till now, and it's something that I've always, how can I say this? It's like, you know, when you've been in a situation in your life, and then you always have a reference point, and you're like, okay, this is what's happening. This is what's happening, and for me, that is what works for me in sport.
Yes,
and which it's something that other athletes must build into themselves. Like if you have a reference point and you say, okay, I've been in this situation before, then you should be able to pull your way out of it. And I can sort of relate that to scrumming. Yes. I can relate that to a ball carry.
Yes.
And I can take that even into my life.
Yes.
And in certain situations, I'm like, yeah, this is the reference point. But touching on this specific reference point, when I got at St. John's, my rugby was booming. I was playing centre at the time, which is quite strange. And
inside centre,
inside centre. It was just mad, but like I was just a battering ram. To be fair,
crash.
But what was also cool is like I could throw the ball.
Pass. You got good handling.
It worked out so well. We had a phenomenal team, by the way, and our Colts team at St. John's is still Mr. Mbundi's favorite team to this day. Like even when I spoke to him about it, he was like, Boshi, Mudariki, Mudas. Like you can see like he's Chadwick, like you can see like
the passion.
He goes mad. Like he goes mad. He still posts like this photo of us. He still posts it on his like Facebook. It always comes up on his Facebook. Once a year, and then everyone comments like, yeah, best team ever, whatever. But I digress. It's one of my reference points. So there was this, it was sort of weird when I got to Cornwallis, and I remember this was for cricket trials. So on the first in the summer, then there was always I'll touch on rugby. There was always this thing like, because I came from Zim, I was an underdog. And it happens. It happens in anything, in business, in everything. We have to over-index to be like, I have to show them. I always have to like.
For sure.
I always have to show you, like, if you know what I mean, like what I'm about.
Yes.
So I remember first day of sport, like you do your cricket trials or whatever, water polo, you choose your sport. So we go down to the cricket nets. Then everyone's like, oh, the Zimbabwean guy, can he even play?
Then you're like, wow, okay.
And
it's
I can even feel this coming from the coaches too. I'm just like, and like I was a bit chubby. I was a bit chubby too. So they're like, okay. So whatever. Lace up, put my batting things on, and then when I walk up to the thing, usually everyone expects a right-handed. That's when I came through, switch side, and then I'm back lefty.
The whole thing, yes. Okay.
I see the looks on there, like what?
Okay. And bear in mind, this is before you've been playing cricket your whole life.
My whole time. So
you're nice,
I just kept quiet. I was like, let's come. I was like, it's calm. You guys will see. Okay. Have the sickest net session ever. Now all of a sudden I'm the best thing since sliced bread.
You talk of it
This-
since sliced
they're
bread.
like, this
Wow,
is the guy.
Zimbabwean boy.
Opening batsman. What,
Yeah.
this and that.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yes.
And then a couple terms later, comes to rugby. And then they're like, oh, what position do you play? I was like, yeah, well, I played inside centre. Then everyone just laughed. They're like,
here we go. This Zimbabwe.
Yeah,
in what? Maybe in Zimbabwe, buddy, but not. Not here.
And then we do the trials. And then first touch of the ball. Still remember, like, ran over two guys, stepped a couple guys, hand off, try. Again, reference point. So I'm just like, okay, you can say you can think I'm this, but I'll show you. And that's something that has been.
So those memories back then from grade school, even now in your life now, you're like, nah, I've been here before.
And
this has happened to me before.
And it's that easy. It's that easy. It's just like turning on a switch. So I can put myself in that situation. When I'm in that situation, I'm like, okay, we've been here before. If we've done it before, we can do it again. You know what I mean? So like it's just literally it literally happens that way every single time. So now when I've rocked up to trials for KZN, you know, quota system, and everyone wants to say, so you know, you dealt a tough shit deck, basically.
Before you've even arrived.
Before everyone even, no one doesn't even know who you are, where you come from, this and that. You're just that Zimbabwean guy, but then you're like, okay, let's see them. And this is how we've got here, literally every single time, and it happens all the time.
Whether it's in France, whether it's in
England, it's happened every single time, and that's all I relate to. Reference points. I actually been doing some meditation. I've been bad now since I was just come back from holiday. Yeah. But and I'm sort of in between houses. Haven't moved into my actual apartment yet. I'm just sort of in a spare one now, and I'm not settled yet. But when I was doing my meditation, best experience ever, like one of the best experiences, like, and I would highly recommend to people to meditate, especially if you've got mental health issues and you're going through stuff. Meditation is a must. And in the one like sports package I was doing, so I used this app called Headspace. Yes. And I did that. It was in the athlete section. I can't remember what program it was, but it's got different programs, so like performance, if you're coming out of injury and stuff like that. But I can't remember which one I chose. And then it was literally speaking about it was like reference points, like remember a time where you were happy and this was going on, and then you sort of bring that moment to life. But in your actual life, for example, you can do it through gratitude. And you think about, like, right now, like, you've got a roof over your head, you've got this and that. So then you can sort of bring that moment to life. Draw those experiences to the front. Those experiences together and bring it to life. So that's literally with reference points. That's literally, that's what I use as a tool to sort of help me rise to an occasion, or whether it be like a final or something like that. And to me, I trust it has brought me through and has done big things for me.
That's phenomenal. I think I'm going to come back to Michael House. I will come back to what that experience was like. But also on this point of mental health, right? I know maybe you can touch on the experience. I know you personally, so we've had this conversation. Yeah. But there's a time I know you had left France, or rather your first club at France was a club called Cast Olympique, which was literally won the championship the year before, and you were kind of in the academy there. Yeah. And you went to another club called Taub, and that was Taub, which is like a third tier club, if I'm correct, at the time. And I know mental health became like a very important subject in your particular life there. So maybe touch about like what that experience was like and why things like meditation became such an important tool in which you kind of use in your life right now.
So it's quite strange to me, and if I trace it, it's funny how much you pick up when even just like having a conversation like this, because literally when I knew what you were going to touch on, and I sort of like started preparing myself in my head as to what I'm gonna say, because I always do that. It's just weird. But if I trace back to the height of the issues that I had at the time, it actually started when I was at Cast.
Right. And what were the issues when you were at Cast? What were the issues?
And in my last season at Cast, I remember just being so stressed the whole time. I was on edge the whole time. I don't know how I was living life. To me, I honestly don't know how I was even functioning.
You were that stressed. And what was driving the stress?
So if I skip about, I did the preseason with the professional team at Cast, and that went really well. Then halfway through that, I tore my hamstring, and the tear was just ridiculous. It was like 5 centimeters, which was massive for hamstring tear. Like it's just, and I'm a tight head prop. Like I'm not shifting gears.
Yeah.
But this happened during it was like a sprint test. So yeah, like literally the problem started there, and I just remember trying to get back so I could play and then earn a contract, and so I could secure my future.
And play first team rugby, right?
Play first team rugby, essentially.
Yeah.
So that didn't happen. So I ended up being injured for the whole 6 months because I just kept tearing my hamstring. And you know what's so funny? Reference points. It happened at Worcester too. And I'll touch on it.
We'll touch on that afterwards, sure.
Reference points.
Yes.
So literally, it then just became a thing now that I would try get back as quick as possible. But then, if you're not mentally ready to come back from injury, then there's no point. It's not your body will give up. Like your body will just give. So I would rehab, get better, tear my hamstring again. Rehab, get better, tear my hamstring again. And that happened for a better part of 6 months.
Triggering. Goodness me, it's depressing. And everyone else is moving forward, getting contracts.
Like Johan had already, like Johan, who's like one of my best mates here in France.
And he plays for
Racing now. Plays for Racing. He's done really well for himself. And I remember at the time he had signed with Agen. And he had secured his future at Agen. He was going to play there. You know, he had a great contract. I'm just like, jeez. Baptiste who's at Cast right now, one of the co-captains, and like future of the club. He's still, I mean, he's like 3 years younger than me, and he's racked up so much game time in the last couple of years. Like he'll play 100 games for Cast easy. He just re-signed
franchise boy.
Franchise tag. Bron. If you know what I mean.
Okay, cool. So basically, you're saying it's peak stress at this stage. It's 6 months.
Yes, like I said, if your mind's not correct, it's not going to work. Just won't happen. So everyone else is progressing. Then I remember the holiday. So the holiday came. December came. Literally, I haven't played rugby since July. December, same things happening. Then I went to South Africa for Christmas. With the family, Gogo, my grandmother, she came down from the UK, Auntie Martha, everyone, they came down, and then we all met up in Durban. And I remember just being so relaxed and like chilled. And I was like,
I haven't felt this way in a long time.
I haven't felt this way in such a long time. And I was like, this is the turn of good things. I was like, this is where it shifts. And you can feel it.
Yes.
Mentally, you're like, mentally, I'm going to get better. I'm going to be good. I'm going to go. Flew back to France, played the best rugby I played. When I think about like a period of time where like I can say I've been a dope player for a long period of time, was that season.
Yes.
Like, and the team was doing well at the same time. So it was like the perfect wave to jump on.
And so you're saying being with your family back in Africa, and your close friendships. That was like, and getting your mind right in that.
Getting my mind right. And also I got to, like, even in Durban, I got to see like all my best friends again after such a long time. Since I moved to France, I don't think I'd seen them. So that was cool too. And it sort of just like gave me a turn. And what I forgot to mention, during the injury period, I was having panic attacks, but I didn't know what it was.
So describe panic attacks and what, geez, that's so.
I've never had a heart attack before.
Yes.
And I thought that's how I describe it. It's like the first thing I thought was like, I'm having a heart attack.
You'd just be there, you're minding your own business.
Yeah.
Washing dishes, like, what have you.
Yeah. Like I'll tell you, the first panic attack I ever had, I just come back from training, from rehab, just so stressed about life. Like, just like having that sleep. I didn't sleep that for the whole 6 months. July to December, negative sleep, just stressing about how am I going to get another contract? Like, is this where my life ends, or is this where, I've come to France? I'm not even on that much money anyway. I'm not French qualified rugby player, so the chances of a team picking me up, like, this is just, it's not going to happen. I'm washing the dishes, doing, and then I can hear my heart beat.
What?
But I can hear my heart beat, but like in my head.
Wow.
Like I got earphones.
Yeah, you can just hear it.
I got earphones on, but I can hear my heartbeat.
Through your music, you're like, I can feel my heart beating right now.
No, yeah, literally, like I don't have earphones on, but it's like as if I have earphones on. But I've got the Beats by Dre's on, and I can just hear my heartbeat, like.
And you're like, I'm about to die.
I'm about to die. I'm about to have a heart attack. So literally, bro.
And what would you do? What would you do in those moments? Like, what would you?
So so I'll tell you, the first time it happened, I'm literally like in my room. I remember rushing to. I didn't have a car at the time, and not a lot of guys had cars. So then there was a teammate of mine called Nico Gabriel. Nico Gabi, we used to call him. He's from Toulon. And yeah, we were good mates, and he had a car because he lived in an apartment.
Yeah.
I gave him a call. I'm like, Nico, and I remember speaking in French. I'm like, I don't know, translate. Nico, s'il te plaît, je suis pas bien. I'm not feeling well. Je suis pas bien. Tu peux revenir me chercher? Can you please come and fetch me? And I'm like, I'm in tears, bro. Like, I'm literally crying. Like, I'm in tears. I'm like, tu peux venir me chercher? Je suis pas bien. Mon cœur, ma heart, ça tape trop vite. Et je suis pas bien, je pense que je vais tomber là, je pense que je vais mourir. I think I'm gonna pass out, I think I'm gonna die. So then he rushes down, and I still remember I can hear his car downstairs driving, and he's hooting, like hooting. And then I get downstairs, and then Johan happened to be in the car because they'd gone to eat or something. And they were like, "Ça va, bro? How you doing? Like, ça va? Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Like, what's happening?" No, like, guys, I don't know what it is. My heart is not feeling. I'm not feeling well. Please take me to the hospital. And I'm literally there. They can see me. I've gone pale.
What, bro?
They can see me down. Like, I've gone pale. Then I'm like just sat in the car, like my head's shaking. Like I'm so disoriented. Like when I got into the car eventually, I'm so disoriented. Like I even forget that I'm in the car. And then my body just went like cold. Like I'm feeling cold now. So then eventually they gave me a hospital. And then they put the ECG on. But then by the time they started putting the ECG on and stuff like that, like I've calmed down. And I'm relaxed. And then they told these guys to go in, and they would get them to come. They'd get them to come fetch me, or they'd give them a call. And then whilst all this is happening, I'm texting my mom. So imagine what's going through it. She's like, my son's in France.
My son's in France. I can't even fly on a plane. It's like,
and he's going to die. He's going to die. So yeah. That was the first. And then they obviously did the heart checks, whatever.
Yes.
And then they gave me an overnight ECG. So they literally, like, if you come across someone who has hard issues or hard problems, they would tell you like every once in a while they get this 24-hour monitor put on them so they can see. And bro, it's actually weird. I've got the photo on my phone. I've got the,
you kept it to be like that.
Yeah, just a
reference point.
Reference point. So yeah, that was my first one. And
wait, let's pause there. Wait, hang on. Ooh, jeez.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro.
Wow, that's wow.
But you know what I thought about the worst thing? I didn't know I was having panic attacks until about the fourth one.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm thinking about. Like you're listening, I'm in the hospital, and you think, oh, this is what I know, but like, and then you said at the end of the talk, you said that was the first time. I'm saying,
yeah.
So you're telling me there was more than one occasion with that exactly.
And I don't know, this word is gonna keep coming up. Reference points.
Points.
There've been times, okay, so after France, but we're gonna touch on, there's another one I need to tell you about. But after like, so when I was going through injuries at Worcester, same period of time, like that 6-month period in France, but this lasted over a year. So I'm about
go on.
I'm about to have another panic attack. But it was so powerful. I was just like, I'm about to have a panic attack. And I could clock. I was like, I'm about to have a panic attack, but it's not gonna happen because I know how to deal with it now.
I'm aware, like I can.
Most powerful and liberating thing. Like I remember that moment. I felt so powerful, and I was like, thank you, God. Like, because I know what it is now, I can, you know.
Can you die from a panic attack? Is it possible to die from a panic attack?
I'm sure you could, because if you think about it, if you that stressed,
heart,
if you that stressed, then
it's possible.
Yeah, your heart you could give out.
So tell me, so I'll touch on maybe not all four, but I know there's something, of course, that was triggering those particular incidents, right?
Yeah.
Maybe touch on what that was, and then in those journey of those 3 or 4 that kind of followed, what were the tools and how did you kind of, because someone might be listening to it going through the same thing, right? And there might be a different thread that's going through their life that's driving those panic attacks. What they might not know how to do is actually cope with the actual issue of having a panic attack. You know what I'm saying? So maybe touch on touch on what the thread was and then how you then learned to cope with those.
I think in terms of dealing with stress and stuff like that, it's constant learning, because I would not say that, and maturity too, I would not say it's like a moment where you just think, okay, I found the formula type thing. It's
a constant process. Sure.
Okay, now obviously I'm better at it. Because, like, for example, like I was telling you, I realized during COVID that we're not in control of anything. Bro, we're not in control. You think you're in control of your life and
you aren't really.
Everything that's happening. Like, you can give yourself the best chance, but then you're not in control.
A lot of it is up to chance in many ways.
Yeah.
A lot of it is up to chance.
Yeah, a lot of it up to chance, and then depending on what you believe in, God also has a major part to play. But in terms of dealing with it, I think it was just, if I'm being honest, I would sit and look in the mirror and be like, Farai, you're Zimbabwean. You need to make it work. and it's certain events. It's certain events. Do me.
But
we have the great story to tell our kids one day. Do you remember selling soap?
That's another discussion for another day.
But but I'm touching on that. But then there were certain periods. So that's that period in time. Do you know how much? You know how much that time taught me about life. Like that's why you see, when I was back home in Zim, I went to Mbale just to go chill for the day.
I think for context, just if everyone knows what we're talking about. So there was a time in my life where I started a small business and I was manufacturing. We had employed 10 staff. We kind of had a factory out in Chitungwiza and we're manufacturing, green bar laundry soaps. And it was a very interesting time. We did but it was also very challenging and extremely challenging. I think the thing that it exposed us to was look, people listen to it hey, my salad, what.
Yeah.
But people, but you know what I'm saying, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But we're exposed to, it was, at least for me, and I'll be fully transparent, I'd never been in Chitungwiza over extended periods of time, been in Barium Seeker for extended periods of time and what have you. And it was a phenomenal learning curve, struggling, trying to make something work, but then also just being and trading in that particular environment. It was a very interesting experience, which I maybe don't fully appreciate now and will continue to learn. But Amy, maybe speak on what that meant for you, being there with me whilst I was going through that particular part of my life.
Yeah. So like you said, for Zimbabwean listening, and all I knew before was north of Samora.
North of
Samora. Yeah.
North of Samora.
North of Samora.
Which it is what it is, right?
That's why I went to school. That's where I spent most of my time. North of Samora. That's all I knew. That's literally what I knew. So I got to see how real Zimbabwean people live.
Mm-hmm.
Not that because you live
not that people north of Samora aren't real, but just another
the majority.
Majority. Sure.
You just one. Yeah. In Borodale, you just 1%. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Then you look on the larger scale. My forward from Dombo Shower and stuff like that. That's how most most people are living. So those situations gave me perspective, and they were okay, Farai, you're actually better off than you think you are. Another story I need to tell you. I came back from France. When was it? I came back from France. It was before I started a job.
Sure.
So I had sort of had a good period there. Mental health was a lot better. At least I'd secured a club. I was pretty bummed out I didn't get anything at Cast because I'd had the season of my life. In the final, had the sickest game ever in the final. Unfortunately, we lost, but I had a really good game. Really proud of the way I presented myself.
Sure.
And in a final, and then obviously left France without having signed anything. Then I actually signed the contract when I was on holiday. And one of the most powerful things, and I would say life-defining moments, is I was at home during that holiday. And then I walked, so where my room was in Newlands, in Highlands, where the house was, and where the house was. So when you're walking from my bedroom, you sort of could walk past mom's room and you could see her bed, like right there. So I walked past, and then she was sat on her kist. Yes. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
She was sat on her kist, and then she was sat there bending over like this, holding her receipt. So then I walked past, went to the kitchen and then came back to my bedroom. She's still looking at the receipt. So I'm like, Mom, what's up? Why are you looking at the receipt? And then she was like, I've just finished paying for my clothes. She's just like, I just finished paying your high school, school fees. I've just finished paying for it.
Right, are you in France, boss?
I'm in France. This is a whole 2.5 years later. High school. Wow. Looking back, I sat there and I was just like, this rugby thing has to work. This rugby thing has to work.
Has to work.
We're going up. I was like, we're going up.
It's only.
I was like, we're going up.
It has to work.
It has to work. I was like, we're going up. We're going up.
There's the only way is forward.
Yeah,
there's
forward.
Only one way.
Forward and up. We're going up.
Whew. Damn. I didn't know it was that ham.
So I was just like, nah.
Wow.
Nah, this is me. Rugby's gonna work.
By any means necessary, we're gonna make this thing happen.
Then I went to Tob. Had the most terrible time there. Again, coaches didn't like me. Obviously, I think I was a bit soft too, because it's the first time you're playing with men. So I need to be toughened up a lot. But then my work ethic was just crazy. Like when I was there, I was so fit. And yeah, the coaches didn't like me. Didn't get a lot of game time. Played about 3 games maximum. And then that's where I met James Percival.
Yes.
And James Percival, then the ex.
Maybe 1 point before I let you go on to James. How did you deal with the panic attacks? Because were you still having time in Tob?
Yeah, so yeah, like I was saying, like I had a crap time in Tob. I'm not playing. Coaches don't like me. But also with the coaching thing, it was just like they were on top of me. Like they were just like you know, okay, coaches have different ways of getting through to players, but then I just
people are sitting on you like, these guys are.
It was just like, this is what even like to this day, you know, that same coach still to, like he would like whenever I would do something like on Facebook, rugby wise, you'd be like, oh well, you couldn't do it at all. You know, the type of thing that's just like
wow. All this hate.
So much to the sense, like to the point that like, you know, when I've been at Never and I played, my agent sends him like videos of me playing, like just to like rub it in his face, be like,
just rub it. And contextually, Never is like 2 leagues above where Tob
and even when I went to Worcester, like of course it didn't work out at Worcester because
but it was still on a much higher level.
On a much higher level. So I proved in his face that I was, you know, I could do it.
And you're better than what you thought you were. But you're still, of course, not getting game time, and now it's still pretty stressful.
So the panic attacks come back, and then I remember having 2 or 3, but the one I remember vividly, so scary. So I'd come. It was like a Sunday evening. I'm literally in my room. I'm having a panic attack, but then I remember phoning my mom, and I'm like literally like, Mom, it feels like there's someone in my room.
Like, in what sense? What do you mean when you say someone in my room? Like
demonic, bro. Like I was like, this feels like there's someone in my room.
It was so hectic. Like it just felt like
so hectic. Like I was just like, and I remember because Imad is a player, like a mate of mine that I played with at Cast, and then we went to Tob together.
Same club.
And I sort of feel like he knew. When people started looking at you, like even like Johan and those guys, because I had a couple of panic attacks, they were like, well, there's nothing wrong with his heart, so he must just be stressed or going crazy. One of the two. So I still remember people looking, but then like it was sort of like they didn't want to say. But I mean, it is what it is. Like they didn't know any better. Like it's the first time they come across someone who's having a panic attack. So nothing against them. But then that panic attack that I had, it's like, Mom, it feels like there's someone in my room. Like I can't. I'm like crying. I'm in tears. I'm in tears now, and I'm so much to the point like I'm not even worried about the heart attack or the panic attack anymore. Like I'm just sobbing. I'm in tears. And then I literally walk out the house, don't even lock my door, just leave. And then I had a teammate of mine called Julien Million, French guy, and he lived down the road from me. And Imad wasn't there that weekend because I think he had gone home. And then I went to Jules' house, and I just explained to him what had happened and thing. Then he was like, "Nah, it's all good, bro. Just sleep on my couch." And then just in the morning, we'll sort it out in the morning. And then that's the last panic attack I remember having.
And how do you deal with it now? Do you do like breathing exercises? Do you like
just the fact that I'm aware. The fact that I'm aware that I'm having a panic attack, like I said, gives me so much power. So when I was going through my injury struggles at Worcester, and this, by the way, is my dream move. This is where I'm like supposed to make a mark and do something for myself, if you know what I mean, and make a name for myself in the rugby scene. Obviously, it didn't work out the way it was supposed to. I'm back on my feet now, but back on my feet now. But I think everyone has a path. Yeah, they have to live out, and this just happens to be mine. But like I was saying with panic attacks, I was literally like about to have one when I was in the UK, and then I was just like, nah, you can't take me. Can't do me again.
So it's actually like a mental battle that you almost have to
it's like a mental battle. Basis. Yeah, and just being aware now just helps me even better. And also, like, another reference point or time is from Worcester to Neville. There's also a story in that, in the sense that I did not have a contract for the better part of a year.
Okay, there are two stories here. Let's go back to the one when we've gone from Cas Olympique. Which is like, of course, a great club, and I'll get to that story around how that even came about, because that's interesting in of itself. But we've gone from Cas Olympique to now to TAB, right? And that is a challenging move, but we get kind of their contract, and then it's now, geez, I'm not getting any game time. I'm like, first year of senior rugby, this is like tough as hell. I need a new situation. And then you go from TAB to Worcester, and of course, TAB is like a third division French club, to Worcester, which is a top flight premiership club in the UK, right? And the names of Francois Hochart, Marco Mama from Zim is there as well. Big name, like people who have played 50 plus caps for their country at the highest level. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's really like top flight. When we say top flight, it's top flight rugby. Yeah. And the only prop I've ever seen do it is Farai Mudariki, who's played at that level. From Zim, if I can call it that way. Or say black prop from Zim now was played there for extended periods by Mudariki at that time. Yeah. So how did that even come about? And then what was that experience like for you?
Yeah. So I remember rocking up for day one preseason at TAB, and I'm running behind James Percival.
And who's James Percival?
James Percival is an ex-Worcester lock, also played at Quins, I believe. And there's another club he played for, but I can't remember.
But he's an Englishman that's played.
Englishman. Funniest guy. Sure. Percy, funniest. Big banter. He says what everybody wants to say, but
but too scared to say it.
Almost to the point you don't want to have him in the room because he might just embarrass you. He's the type of person who would give thanks to the Queen. Like,
you're like, oh, it's the Queen.
In that setting.
Anyway.
So,
cool. So you're running behind him at training.
Running behind him preseason, he was like, nah, like, who are you? I was like, yeah. So I told him, chopping up, he said, no. This is even before he's seen me throw a ball or catch a ball or scrum or whatever.
Anyway, just running behind him at training. Just running behind him.
He was like, nah, bro. Tell me what's going on there. So I told him what happened. I was like, how much? He's like, okay, I'll get on to some people in England. But when he said that, I was just like, why do people guess?
So here's a guy, your first day of training, a person hasn't seen you touch, he just sees you running. He's like, and he's played at the highest level in England at these big clubs. And he just sees you running, he's like, why are you here?
Yeah,
why are you here? This is not your level. This is not your level. This is not your level.
What is this all about? And I was extremely
you should be at the top level. That's not here.
I was extremely fit at the time. The fittest I've ever been. Running wise. He's like, no, bro. He's like, what is this all about?
What's going on? So,
and as preseason goes, it even solidified even more. Like, he saw me pass a ball, saw me run with the ball, saw me scrum. Obviously, scrumming is an art you have to learn and something you get better at with time. Then he was like, no. I need to do something about this.
You can't be here with us. We got to stay.
Then he called a couple of teams. I don't know do you think can I say the teams? I guess.
Sure, go for it. Why not?
Yeah,
People
yeah. I mean, yeah, it doesn't
let's say
matter.
that. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
He spoke to Newcastle.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke to Worcester,
Mm.
and then he spoke to Harlequins. And then Newcastle showed some interest, but then didn't manifest. Harlequins sort of didn't say anything. Then then Worcester showed the most interest. Yeah, but then at the time, the Worcester coach was leaving. And then Alan Solomons, who's the current director of rugby at Worcester, was just there as a consultant, but he sort of hadn't been given the job on a full term basis or whatever. So then, yeah, he said he had to look at the stuff, and you know what's so funny, doing WhatsApp, iCloud, all these things are the greatest things ever because I still have these text messages in my phone. And they will never, I would never get rid of them.
You never remove them. You like
reference point. Like it's just like
reference point. So you gather data to say, no, I know this is true. It's written. It's here.
It's written. This is it happened. Yeah. Like this. If this can happen the way it's happened, then anything is possible. So then, we didn't even go back and forth. This is like all happening in like so pre-season would have been like. So when we had started playing games, so about December time, that's when he got onto the clubs because that's usually when clubs do all their business. Yeah. And then literally, he was like, "Yeah, I want him." And someone was like, "I want him."
Let's get it done. Let's get it done.
Let's get it done. So you know when people say that, they're just like, I was still, you know how I am. I'm like, it's just a text message.
It's the text message. Let's see. Where's the offer?
Even like I remember you saying to me like, remember when the France thing happened, and I was just chilling there for like the better part of 6 months. I was like, I'm not even gonna happen. And you're like, you're going to France, fam.
Just embrace it. Own it.
I was still just like, nah. Nah. They're just guessing. They're guessing.
Yeah, let's see.
They're funny. Look, I'm Zimbabwean. There's trust.
You're like, hey, we have emotional issues we have to get over.
It's trust.
Yeah.
Trust issues.
Yeah.
So then literally in March, I was in Alan Solomon's office taking a tour around the club, and I was signing a contract there. I even drove down to go visit the club with Auntie Martha and Runako, who's Auntie Martha being my mom's sister, who's like basically my mom.
Yes.
And Runako, my cousin, but is my sister, and you know. I drove down with them, and then we met Alan Solomons. Saw a couple of the boys. I remember meeting. I remember meeting Bialo. I remember meeting Bialo. He was still at Worcester at the time, and now he's at Wasps. He also has an amazing story. And he's basically doing his thing there at Wasps. But I remember seeing him, and then
seeing all the
piece
of people I saw on TV when I was a kid. These guys are winning World Cups when I was a child, and now I'm there like.
Don't even get me started. So the day of my debut, dude. Don't even get me started.
What was the lineup? What was the lineup? Broadly.
So weirdly enough, all my high school like close mates.
Yes.
They were like, "Oh no, we're gonna come see you play." Like I still remember Mike was like, "I will come watch your first professional game ever." And this was like he said that like when I was in France like 5 years ago, he had said that. I was like, there we go again. People just guessing me.
People like these guys guess. These guys chat.
I was like, these guys are guessing. Next thing, they're like, okay, we want to book the flights. Seeing as pre-season's over, you're gonna get into some games. Guys, I've just got you. I don't even know if I'm gonna play that. No, let's just book the flights. So they came the weekend before I made my debut, but they just came to watch the game because Worcester played that weekend. So they just came. We went out on the town, Worcester. We went to the club, Alexander's. It was went to the club, had a couple of drinks,
Yeah.
The boys are boys doing damage.
Yeah,
Boys
the
doing
boys.
damage. Michelle. What I didn't even mention Michelle once, but Michelle was my girlfriend. My lovely girlfriend was obviously there because she was at uni in Birmingham. So we were all together, and yeah, we had a good night. And then the next weekend, so on the Monday, Mike and them were just in London doing their own thing. Mike, Dan was doing his postgrad at Oxford at the time. So he was obviously in the UK, and then Mike and Cameron had come over from SA to visit. Then the next on the Monday, I'm just chilling there. Then Alan Solomons comes up to me. He's like, "Farai, you're starting this weekend. Don't fuck it up." Then he just smiles. He just smiles. He just smiles because he sort of knows like it's gonna put me under pressure. So he just smiles and he's just like, "Look, don't fuck it up." Then he walks away. It's the funniest thing. He walks away, and I was just like, oh, "Shit!" So I was like, so then I obviously start gassed deep within.
Like yo.
Start sending the text messages around and like, "Yeah, I'm starting. I'm playing this weekend." Then Dan and the boys are like, "No, we're pulling up. We're coming through round two. Round two this weekend." And obviously Michelle came through to watch. And then bro, I remember looking at so you know how they do the Instagram where they put up the team,
the lineup. They say like, this is the team.
But I remember speaking with. I didn't realize it because obviously I can't get guessed. It's just who I am.
But like, you have a job to do on the day.
Yeah, I have jobs to do. But even in general, if you ask,
you don't get.
Like, "Oh, you're playing."
You don't get phased. You don't get phased. You don't get too phased by stuff. Yeah.
So I remember speaking, and then this is when I realized I was on the phone with my mom, and she's like, "Have you seen the team sheet? Have you seen those names? Have you seen those names?" I was like, "Yeah, bro. These are guys who play rugby. I play rugby your age. I'll be like playing rugby age like 7."
Yeah, on your video games. You guys used to play it on the video games.
Oh yeah, these are the guys who play rugby age. It was crazy that day.
Who are some of the names? Just so people. Who are some of the names that on the thing?
Like Francois Hooghart, big name.
Yeah.
I think Wynand Olivier played in that game.
Anton Bresler.
We actually became quite friendly with them. Funny.
You're a flyer of Duncan Weir.
Duncan Weir, Josh Adams, who's playing for British Irish Lions.
And he's a Lion now. Josh Adams, I'll give you the best, one of the best wings in Europe.
The world,
Bryce the world, Josh Adams. Bryce
was playing that game.
The guy from the other guy, the guy who he's a Kiwi, but he played for England. Did he play that day?
Ben Teo didn't play in that game, but I think in the centres it was Wynand and Ash Beck, Welsh international. So crazy. And then I had Jack Singleton,
England hooker.
I had Jack Singleton and hooker with. I was packing down with him. Then I had who did we have at loose that day? Probably Callum Black. Doing like mad memories. I remember just being like,
what is life right now? What is life right now? Like,
Mama, we made it. I said,
Mama made it. Oh, this thing has to. Oh man, that's like a validation. But here's the point I want to talk on. Firstly, like, congratulations. But of course, like that Worcester was a bit of injuries kind of kept it back in. But as a reference point, as this is the common theme, Farai, man, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, coming from the journey that you walked through, and then all the investments. If you look back from, telling your grandfather how to place a ball, You know what I'm saying? To be playing at Worcester in the Premiership with people with the elitist of athletes in your sport, is just like, it's the pinnacle. Yeah, it's like the pinnacle, and there's so much more to go, right? But that reference point is like,
it's great, yeah. And I sort of need to do a better job of giving myself a bit of credit for where I've got. I think in general, as just an individual, everyone's always like, we just critique ourselves, but then
if you think about it, you're like, yeah, but actually,
I would have never looked at it in this way if you hadn't
said like, think about it. Because and I'm going to come back to memory, like, and there's a point I want to touch on. There's a point you said my mom was holding the receipt.
Receipt.
3 years after she had finished high school,
Yeah.
that she had paid it off.
Yeah.
And there was a moment you said, this rugby thing, it just has to work out. It has to work out. It has to work out. And that Worcester starting moment where you're looking at all those people left and right, that validated that, right? That
validated, yeah.
The sacrifices when your parents were investing in the best schooling, the best,
cricket,
education, cricket, all of those things. They sowed into what your guys' gifts were, and now it's yielded the fruit in the right way. Now you can wash your own face, you can be there in your apartment, and take care of yourself.
Yeah, and it's no, and yeah, and I can do things for my loved ones too. Like it's just.
Do you know what I'm saying? All of this game, this beautiful game that you play. But there's a point specifically I want to kind of touch on. You went to high school in South Africa, right? And typically there's a pathway which I won't go too much into depth about. Maybe you can touch on it briefly and what it meant to you as a school and as opportunities.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But there's a path in which not everyone has the opportunity to go to South Africa for, and this is from a Zimbabwean perspective, not everyone has the opportunity to go to South Africa, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to, of course, go to school and through that particular route. So the point I'm really interested in is like the last year, the transition from the high school into playing rugby after school, right? I think you have a very interesting transition there. And it's interesting because it can be very inspiring for other Zimbabweans because like some people might watch and be like, look, Farai, quite frankly, I didn't go to St. John's Prep. I didn't go to my class because we have to acknowledge our privilege. Like we have to acknowledge our privilege for what it is. Like not everyone had parents who could watch and sacrifice to pay for South African school fees. That's our privilege, right? And we have to acknowledge that for what it is. But I think there is some sort of inspiration in the transition from your high school into you playing for Zim, because that was really like the thing in many ways that unlocked France, right? So maybe like talk to that particular moment, but I think that's the most important piece in my mind, at least, to a young Zimbabwean athlete who might be watching this and wants to draw inspiration from your pathway, which isn't the Craven Week pathway. So yeah.
Jimmy, I had never used the word reference point until today, but I need to say it again. Reference point.
Yes.
So I finished high school. Didn't achieve what I could have.
In what sense? Academically or sport-wise?
Academically and sport-wise, I felt that I was hard. I just felt like it didn't go my way.
Sure.
If you know what I mean. And academically, I didn't perform as well as I could have. So then, what happened in that time is like there was loads of uncertainty, and I just sort of like I was like, I didn't get a contract out of school, so which is the South African pathway. So I was like, so screw it. That's me. I'm damaged goods.
Rugby is not really a real
thing.
Yeah,
rugby's not really. Yeah, rugby's really not going to happen. Like I am talented and all that, but then.
Sure.
Where do we go to from here?
Yeah.
It sort of felt like, and I guess that's how you write your own story. And it sort of felt as if I was like, oh well, I don't know anyone who's come back from this situation. I didn't get a contract.
Because typically everyone gets in South Africa.
Everyone gets that contract.
Zimbabwe, like in Zim. Beast, Brian Mujati,
they're all playing for other countries.
Kennedy Timber, David Popak, David Denton, all of like they go or not David, but often we go to like this. The path is often Craven Week, then I get a contract from a professional club out the gate.
Or I moved to another country when I was younger.
I moved to another country, and then that's the thing. So you're now like, well, I haven't seen it happen any other way, and all of the ways I've seen it. Hey, listen, I think there's nothing here for me, but
we just out here.
Yeah.
Then Hilton had come back from the UK at the time, and I'm sure you've spoken to him about it, and we all know about it. But he didn't have the best of times there, and he just wasn't built for that type of life and the way the UK is set up. But he got back. So Hilton was just training so hard, but I didn't really know what he was training for. Like, okay, so the UJ thing came up to go to University of Georgia. That came up, I would even say, like halfway through the year. That wasn't a thing when he had come back like earlier. So we were just, I wasn't training. So I sort of, it's a funny story. So my mom sent me to Cape Town to go look for options and like visit like universities and schools and stuff like that whilst I was there. And so she sent me to Cape Town. Then I was staying with Seth Bandiz. Seth Bandiz rapping with ease. I was staying with Seth, who's a good school friend of mine. And it was O week for them. So they all like university, like at UCT, they do the thing.
So you're with the in groove.
I was just
in groove.
Out there for the joy. I was just out there for the vibes.
Just partying. There's a time for it. There's a time for it.
I visited Vega. I visited Vega. Vega's like a
branding and marketing school.
Yeah, branding and marketing school. So I visited them. I was like, yeah, this is sick. I'll come here. And then I didn't even look at anything else. I was like, okay, my 2 weeks now are going to be dedicated to the life. Groove. the life.
Cape Town. Yeah.
So I remember just having like a mattress in like Seth's room. And I remember girls we used to go to like, that were in high school in the same areas like that. Guys, it's Friday, UCT. What was it?
It's Friday, UCT. Like, what's going on?
I remember it was so funny. Like, Seth had like his res ball and stuff, and I was just there, just like, and just drink all these things. So
just come. You're like, what?
Just come. So essentially, I went back home, and then I knew what I wanted to do. So it was like Vega, go to Vega, then find a rugby club just to play, just to pass time,
sure.
and just stay fit. And then, I remember Hilton like being like nagging me and egging me on because I'd come back from Cape Town. I was so out of shape. Then I went to like a sevens tournament where Hilton was playing for the Zim Sevens team, and they were playing like a random tournament here, there, like Russia. And then I met a guy called Kuda, and Kuda happens to be the Beast's brother-in-law.
What? So Beast Tendai Mtauria's brother-in-law.
Yeah, the Beast Tendai Mtauria's brother-in-law. Basically.
Yeah.
I met him there. Then he was managing a hotel in Zim, hotel restaurant in Zim called Ibama Trombo. And I think that's in like by Glenlawn, that area.
In Harare, yeah, sure.
In Harare, yeah. So then he offered me a job.
Sure.
So I worked there as I had all sorts of roles. I was like working in the kitchen. I was like working at the front desk.
Really? I didn't even.
Yeah. Like the front desk.
Right.
I was working at the front desk, and then man, I just remember being so unhappy. And then I was just like, nah, you know what? Put up. It's been real, but like I worked there for like a month or two. Like it's been real, but nah.
It's not the part for me right now.
This is not the part for me. So then I was like, I just sat at home, and then I was like, I literally have no options. Like, and even at the time, even looking back, I think I was depressed. But then I just didn't know.
You weren't dealing with your fate. Like, there's no clear way forward for me.
There's no clear way for me. I'm just waiting until Cape Town happens next year. But that's about it. Then Hilton was nagging me to come to Old Georgians to play rugby for the longest time. Like, he'd been nagging me since I got back from Cape Town. Then I was like, okay, you know what? Let's go. I was so out of shape. And I was just like, yeah, fine, let's do it. So we did it. And then, started getting back into shape, training every day. Bro, the way Hilton and I were training and eating, we were training as if we had the contracts. Like we had the teams already. Like that's
It's like I'm a also like I think it is like I'm a professional. Even whether you give the contract to me or not, I am professional.
I am professional.
I am professional. I don't need you to tell me whether I'm professional or not. I'm telling I'm professional.
I'm telling you I'm professional. Yeah, literally got to that level. Like we're just like I remember my mom just like buying like chicken breast, broccoli. Like we're just like unreal. Like the life was unreal. Dieting, training, the supplements are there, left, right, center. And bear in mind, this is like my mom's just like, oh, these guys have finished school and they're taking me for a ride again. Like she must have thought. she must have thought that these guys, I thought these guys would be living their own lives, but look,
they're out here eating my groceries. What the hell?
My groceries, what the hell? Mm-hmm. And then eventually, we got into some games for all Georgians. So I played off the bench first weekend, had a sick game. Then the moment I knew rugby was okay, when you look back on life and you're like, okay, this is the moment where like Jay-Z, even like Jay-Z, Beyonce, they can all be like, this is when I knew. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
bro, this was the day, this is what happened, and I just feel like,
so
this is it. This is it.
So the next week we were playing against older Orions. And you know, like those games, like it's a pity, like those rivalries and stuff, just because of life in general, not having a functional league in Zim and stuff like that, and just circumstances, COVID and everything. Like we don't get those like club games.
Sure.
But there's good vibes. Like everyone's like for their club, and like Zim would thrive. Like the club system was like how it was with a bit of money, and people really want to get behind rugby. Like people would really love rugby.
And you can feel it. Like people.
And you can feel it, bro. You can feel it. Like you can feel it. That's all guys talk about. They're like, oh, do you see what the All Blacks did? You know, like people. If we could have the same, it's pity. But yeah, what was I saying?
So you have this moment. You're playing for GZ. Like, oh, okay.
So we're playing against older Orions, and then older Orions is just known for they love chat. They love chat. So like you'll be playing on the field and they just be like, we are Nepano, like they talk a lot. So came off the bench again, and then there was like there was a line out, and there was like an overthrow, and then the ball came over. Then it bounced. Then Hilton caught the ball. Then he just threw a pass to me, and I was in the center of the field. And then, bro, I literally remember getting the ball, and then I saw T-Mac, and T-Mac is like Zim legend, number 10,
the king of OH, king of
OH at the time. Sickest, like one of the sickest players to ever come out of Prince Edward in Harare, like gun player. Took the ball, ran straight at him, and I bumped him, and everyone went crazy. Off. And that's the moment I knew, like, just that feeling of like everyone, like I hadn't felt like that since high school.
And you felt like, I think just that moment, you just like,
that moment, I was like, nah, okay, let's do this. I was like, okay, rugby's back. Like we're back.
This could be a thing for me.
I was like, we're back. We're back in business. I was like, we're back in business. Then after the game, everyone's just like on me, like, Farai, yes. I got so sick of it. Even like the Zim like rugby legends, they were all at the game, like, and then even my mom was like, bro, like what happened? Because everyone's playing up my phone.
The darling of Harare. They're like, Mama, like, like this boy is good.
This boy is good. Yeah. Then the Monday, I get a phone call from Bright Chivandile. And he's like, hi. And the thing is, I had seen him at the game, and he was like, calling me like, I'm Fana, you know. It's like,
now.
Now on the phone, he had his corporate voice on. He's like, hi, Farai, just it's Bright Shivandire from the ZRU, Sable's manager. And I would like to invite you to the camp for the qualifiers for Madagascar, 2014 Madagascar qualifier, Africa
It's for
Cup.
World Cup. It's for
which
World
is
Cup.
serving as the qualification for the World Cup. And I was like, okay, thanks, Bright. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll be at camp. So we go to camp. Jimmy, I'm like, I'm not even gonna make the team. Like, yeah, it's a sick experience. Obviously, like I was fully invested. I was fully invested. And I didn't even know Zim had an international rugby team until they called me.
It's cool. Really hectic.
I only knew about the Sables when Hilton started playing for them 2 years prior to that period of time.
And so when they called you, how old were you? Were you 19 at this stage?
I was 19, fresh out of school, a baby. I was a kid. And then went to the camp.
Look at photos now. I even say like, goodness me, he was young.
I was young now. I was a baby. I was a baby. Then I made. Then at the end of the camp, fully invested, working hard, training hard. I was like, I'm not even gonna make it. Like, sick experience, but I'm not even gonna. Am I playing or whatever? Then like they said my name last, and I remember like just like standing up and walking off, and then Hilton comes up. She's like, "Bro, you made the team," and I was just like, "What?" I was like, I didn't even.
Your brain didn't even say.
I wasn't even listening. I was like, he's like, bro, I'm so proud of you. You made the team. I was like, this is gonna be sick. We're gonna play for Zim together. And I was just like, okay, yeah. I was like, okay. I can't do this thing of like not sort of like gassing myself up and like.
You don't take yourself too serious. You take I mean, you're speaking yourself, but it's not like, let's forget to.
We go to Madagascar. I'm just like, I'm literally here on holiday. I'm going to be holding bags the whole time. They named the team for the first game. I'm on the bench. And I'm like...
You're like, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Obviously, phone calls. Start telling everyone, you obviously would be a part of it. Yeah, playing for thing. Yeah, bro. Playing with Hilton to this day gives me goosebumps. And it is the proudest moment of my whole career, and that will never ever change because no one can take it away from us.
Because it started in Merrick Park. It started 20 years ago.
Yeah. No one can take it away. Hilton smashing cricket balls into the maze. Next door neighbor. It all made sense then.
It validated, like, and this is for your country, right? This is for
for your country, seeing the national anthem and your parents. For me, it was cool, but then for like the fam, for you guys, like it's just so much better. It just makes it like just to see the joy on you guys' faces. It's like like we did it. I was like,
we did it.
And then I scored a trial debut, which was cool.
It was huge. You're like, is this a dream?
Yeah, like this is a dream. And then
so wow. Well, firstly, that's like stuff what that dreams are made of, right? Like two brothers playing for Zim.
Yeah.
Two brothers playing for Zim. The only brothers I can think of right now, maybe like the Simba brothers are the only ones I knew.
Yeah. And then the Ferreira brothers were there.
The Ferreira brothers, sure. Yeah. But two brothers playing for Zim in this time, it's a beautiful thing, especially given where you guys came from and I think the sacrifices your parents made for this to be a real avenue in which you can kind of showcase your talent. Do you know what I'm saying? And you should be proud of that. And it's just epic. It's just epic. And the thing is, there's still so much more to like do. It's not like it's done. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's only like the beginning in so many ways.
Yeah, it's only the beginning.
But for me, the point that's most important, I think, is to touch on is like a lot of players can be playing league. Playing league in Zim right now for all Georgians or all the Rarans or for whoever, right? Mavuku or what, I don't know what the league, whatever. But they might say, oh, okay, I went to school and maybe at Kyle. If I play really well for OGs or for all Georgians, then maybe I can play for Sables.
Yeah.
The missing piece though is that Zimbabwe rugby, I think, still has a bit of a way to go in terms of being like fully professional, if I can call it that. The piece I think is missing is to say, what was your particular, I think your story to go from, because Sables, the reason why a lot of people don't play for Zimbabwe is because there was no realistic avenue in which people could see it being a launch pad for professional rugby, right? Or top flight rugby. So I think speak on that, like the Zimbabwe experience, how did that particular piece help you, be pro and live the life that you're living now? That's the most important thing that someone needs to know, I think.
Gee, that's actually quite tough.
Do you know what I'm saying though?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying, but then like I'm the first one, so like I can't.
What was the story? There was a particular story where I think it was Jean-Luc, I think, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so Jean-Luc Barthez was, may he rest in peace. He was, I want to say he was like the head of Rugby Africa, or the vice head. Yeah, he was thereabouts. And Jean-Luc saw me play in. So then, after the Sables, after the Madagascar, we missed out on qualification for the World Cup, and obviously that story is there. Then there was the under-20 tournament, Africa Cup, and then I was vice captain of that, and I was just so happy to be playing rugby again. And we had a good under-20 team, but then we were just there for the vibes. People just. We were just chasing the parties, and we weren't focused.
We went there to win,
and we weren't focused on rugby, and just the people that were good teammates, like guys that I grew up with, like Munyama Shaya, was the heritage with me. Then we ended up playing for Zimbabwe 20 together, Jabu Mtuku and stuff like that. So we had a good team, but then we just didn't. But in that tournament, in the under-20 tournament, which was in Namibia, I actually played some good rugby. And Jean-Luc was like, he's a sick player. But then I went to go have a chat with Liam Middleton after the...
Liam Middleton, who was
the coach, who was the Sables coach at the time and is the current assistant Sables coach and defense coach for the Sables at the moment, currently. And he's got a great CV. He's coached at Bristol, coached at Hartpury in the UK and stuff like that. And also good guy. Like really probably the best coach I've ever had. Yeah, easy. Best coach I've ever had. And best coach I've...
Zimbabwean coach, like the best coach I've had.
Best coach I've had. Yeah. And he was like, so I went to go speak to him. I was like, I think, rugby, I want to play rugby, but then, and I've sort of proved it to myself, but what do you think? And he's like, yeah, for sure, Farai. I think you have everything to make it, and it's only the beginning. He's like, okay, let me make some phone calls and we'll see what we can do. So I had met Jean-Luc at the under-20 thing, but then I was just speaking to Jean-Luc, I was like, it's some random Rugby Africa guy, like, but we were just chopping it up, and I was just, every day I'd see him, like, Jean-Luc, how you doing? Must have made an impression. And then he said, then he met, then they spoke, Liam and Jean-Luc spoke, because obviously they know each other. And then Jean-Luc he didn't actually live in Cast, but he lived in a village close, not too far away. I think Mazame. Yeah, I think he used to live in Mazame. And that's where he's from. And then, they made the call. And then Cast, obviously, were keen to have me over on trial for 6 months. But initially, before I left, they just went quiet for 6 months. So I was just like, oh, wow. And this is at the same period. Okay, so this is after the Cape Town, after working at Invamatomo, after the Sables Madagascar tour, after Namibia tour, and the 20 tour. Yeah.
So now you've done the year of rugby, like phenomenal.
I've done like half a year of rugby.
From going from trying to figure it out to make it to the Sables, then I'm under 20 captain. I've played this thing.
Half a year, and I'm back on my feet, enjoying playing my rugby again, and then.
And there's this potential deal on the line to say, look, this
potential deal on the line, and I've also reached out to
amazing, but nothing's come through yet.
Yeah, and I've also reached out to Kiss It from Kairos, to sort of look for opportunities in South Africa for me. But then I had the most negative feedback. I won't mention his name, but an ex-Springbok prop.
Sorry, say again. I think I broke for a second.
So yeah,
I broke up for a second.
I won't mention the name, but then an ex-Springbok prop was given my footage and thing and said I would never be a professional rugby player.
Wait. Let me just 1 second. Let's take a step back. After a year of waiting, you're kind of saying, I'm waiting for this time. And then this big Springbok prop who gets your content and then says,
who gets my content, from Kisset and Kairos. And I still remember, I've still got the email in my reference point. Always have to keep this stuff. So you can remind yourself. You can remind yourself. And ex-Springbok prop who was a coach coaching one of the teams in South Africa at the time was like, nah, he will never make it this far. At most Currie Cup player, but other than that.
They said fine.
So I said fine. That's all good. Then Kisset and them were mainly looking at South Africa. Then nothing came up. And then so my only option was to go to Liam, and then him and Jean-Luc spoke. Cass said they'd take me for a 6-month trial in the Espoirs, which is like the under 22 league, and serves as like the academy team basically. And then they eventually got hold of me, and I remember the story. I'd gone to Plettenberg Bay with a mate of mine called Alistair Rain, and then who was at Hilton College, and then we went there for like New Year's Eve is like in Plettenberg Bay is like a spot where it's like a holiday spot where everyone usually goes and whatever. Yes. So this is on New Year's Eve, 2013. So we went to the beach, and then we were all chilling at the beach. We were swimming at the beach. I don't know why I was swimming at the beach, but anyway, I was swimming at the beach. Came offshore, whatever. Then I left my phone at the house. So it's like a long walk up. And then I was just telling, and I'd been telling, and bear in mind, I hadn't seen everyone the whole year. And they're like, obviously, I'm playing for Zim, I'm doing all this stuff.
What's been going on?
What's been going on? And I'm like, guys, I'm coming to Cape Town. Cape Town's going to be so sick next year. Because I'd sort of like, I'd heard about...
Parked the other dream.
I'd heard about Cass, but then they said they'd take me, but then they were just like quiet. But obviously, they were preparing for me to come.
Paperwork, exactly,
So you knew
there's a blessing on the way, and you're like, whatever. There's a blessing on the way, and you're like,
seeing is believing.
Seeing is believing. I want to see.
I want to see.
Yeah.
So then eventually, on New Year's Eve, I came back from swimming. 2013, 31st of December. Picked up my phone, see an email from Cass, and it's all in French. They've sent all my visa stuff that I need to do. They've sent like all the letters, everything, and they're like, "We need you here ASAP." And I was like, "What if I pay school fees?" I was like, "What if I pay school fees to go to Cape Town?" I was like, "Come on." And then I remember phoning. I phoned you actually. I was like, should I still go to Cape Town? And you're like, "No, bro."
So you need to get on that flight and get this money. Get on that flight and go. Don't be wild. Get on that flight.
Because I still remember like phoning like my mom and of course because we went together for years or whatever, and I was also gassed because I was single at the time and there were birds there, so I was just like,
you're like, oh, that's right. Forget your Cape Town. Go to France. Go to France.
Yeah, I was a clown. There were babes there. I was just like,
you're like, but hey,
no.
There are girls in France too. There are girls in France too.
I found my girlfriend in Zoom. But anyway.
That's another. Yeah, that's all that is.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Then literally,
huge.
I was like, guys, I'm going to France. So then I remember like we were all out for like New Year's, and we had a dinner or whatever. Like, yeah, guys, I've got some news I need to tell you guys. I didn't tell anyone that I was there with, because I was there with like all my mates. Like, I didn't tell you. I was like, guys, got some news. Looks like I won't communicate on anymore. They're like, so where are you going? They're like, and I was like, I'm going to France to play rugby. And they're like, nah, you're guessing. You're guessing.
Allow.
And you know how lads are.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you're guessing. I was like, no, legit. I'm going to think. They're like, oh, what team are you going to then? Then I was like, Castrate. I couldn't even pronounce it at the time. I was like, Castrate. So they're like, Then the only reference point they had is because Rory Cockett played there.
Rory Cockett.
No, this team's actually dope. No.
It is actually legit. Like, dude, they won the league last year. It's the big, like, what do you mean? It's like, no, but this is legit. Like, yes.
Yeah, then obviously then they were hyped. So then I was like, yeah, sorry, I was supposed to stay there longer, but like, guys, I'm doing this New Year's thing with you guys, but tomorrow I'm leaving.
I'm out. I have to go chase these dreams.
So then, so bad for the family that I was staying with, the Rainers, and then they made a plan for me to get to the airport because they had a family friend who was leaving. And then bear in mind, the airport, so PE to Plettenberg Bay is like a 2-hour drive.
And then Fambo, it's far.
So like, I wake up after New Year's shenanigans.
Yes.
So hungover. Literally just threw all my stuff in the bag. Didn't fold anything. Just threw everything aside.
Yes.
Next thing I come back home, and then I think there was a period where the embassy was closed for a couple of days because of the festive season.
Holidays. Yes.
Then as soon as that happened, put my papers through, and it came back swift. A week I was gone.
That's huge. So I think it's interesting because the thing that ticked it off was you had a lot of privilege growing up by having exposure to a lot of schools and South African high schools. But the thing that kind of flipped the switch was your platform playing for Zimbabwe under 20 and Sables.
Yeah,
that was the differentiator. So I think
that was what elevated.
So that's actually an avenue.
Yeah.
That is a realistic. Like you can see, there's this one guy. Yes, he was unbelievable this year. What's his name? Driller. Blythe. That boy.
Boy.
That boy is real.
Even the Sharks are like, nah, we need to do something about this.
They say that. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I say it to say that playing for going to university, or they're also playing for Sables. Yeah, those things can also act as platforms to almost being and making it professionally. So I think that's why I thought it was important to kind of touch on that story to say,
do you know what the main problem is? Lots of guys can do it, but I've noticed what happens is when it's like a Zim thing. I don't know what it is. Like whenever we get into these rooms, we just sort of feel like we're not supposed to be there. We're just like, but is this me? Like, if you know what I mean? Like we always do this thing where we sort of have to measure and just to suss out, like, am I good enough for this thing? But then you are, like, if you make it that far, then you just as normal. Yeah, just as normal as thing. It's just there's certain circumstances that we have because of the way our country's set up, but then we have the goods, we have the minerals, we're just normal people. We have blood, we have, same organs.
Flesh and blood, like, just put us in the room. Put us in the room, like, just put us in that environment, and then you measure up just like.
Yeah.
Just like.
Do you find you do that?
How can I say? I think the key thing I've been trying to like look at people is to say, I've seen how can I use it as an example? For example, I've been applying to like business school, and I've seen people who've gone to like business school. I've seen them before they've left and after they've come back. So before they've left and come back, let's say, and you can, but business school in the United States.
Yeah.
To top business schools in the United States. And I've seen before and after that, I say, goodness me, they have a particular worldview, and then they come back, and the scope of possibilities is just so much broader.
Broader.
I think the thing that we maybe like need to acknowledge or kind of content to ourselves is like broadening our scope of possibilities.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. So similar to you, it's like if I'm born in Harare, I go to like a school, Highlands or what have you, or Hellenic, I'm thinking, maybe is rugby really? But it's very possible. Like you just need to
Yeah.
broaden the scope of possible. It's very possible. It's really possible. And not just to be there and just be like, okay, to be excellent. In fact, to be excellent whilst you're there. It's very possible.
The Zimbabweans love that area.
No,
No,
like
let's go
to
do
take up
these things.
space. You have to take up space. You know what I'm saying? Like not just fit in. And so I think I've seen that, and I think maybe I definitely had a degree of that to be fair. Like sometimes I'll get into big rooms before, and I'll get like, and I'll feel like, why am I nervous? Why am I nervous to be in these particular rooms where there are all these people? Well, you know what I'm saying?
There's so much power in our stories and where we're from.
For sure, fully.
So I don't know why. I don't know why we even do this thing of just sort of like trying to.
We need to reframe how we see ourselves.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's why I thought this conversation for me was important. Is to like look back at how far you've come. You can say, yeah, I've actually been through a lot, and in fact, people really slaved and sacrificed for me to be in the rooms that I'm in. People really people like your parents, they sacrifice, and they really. So now someone must save and sacrifice, work hard to give me this exposure. Then once I'm exposed, so you're saying I should not be there and be shy and coy and reserved. No. It actually does a disservice to where you're from and who helped you.
Stand and be counted.
You must stand, be counted, and then you take up space once you're there. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. So I think that's why I want to have these conversations, is to like, your story is just as important as any story from South Africa. It's as important as any story from America or what have you. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And but you also then have to reframe how you look at yourself. But to end off, this has been great. The question I have for you is like, you've had this, of course, the Luxurious journey. What are you working on right now that we can kind of help you with? If there's anything or what's important for you that you kind of would, like us to shine light on, that we can kind of help you with or kind of support you, in your journey?
Yeah. I think the best thing for me is, and it's quite funny because you have you've sort of been a part of it like I would say most recently. So during COVID, and I didn't have, there was a period of time between Worcester and Neville where I had a period of time where I didn't have a contract, I didn't have a thing. So I had a realization in life, and I was just like, I'm not just a rugby player.
Yeah.
Rugby's a big slice of the cake.
Yeah.
But I'm not just a rugby player. Like, and that's for anyone to take. Like, you're not just an accountant.
Yeah.
You are not just a bus driver. You have a family. You have emotions. You have this, and that. And with all those things, you have potential in other areas. Like my motto is greatness only. And greatness only for me is unlocking your full potential in many different ways. So that might be just being emotionally a sound person, or it might actually be a physical talent, or doing something physically with your mind, and so the best. I've sort of went along that journey, and I was trying to build my brand per se, because like you said, I feel like I have a lot to give people. I can give people a lot more so that they can expand in their own way. I was just thinking that in a brand sense, but then just telling stories.
In a life sense. Yeah.
Just telling stories and stuff like that. So I'm basically, if like your question was in terms of helping me, I'm trying to help you essentially, or help other people unlock the greatness in them, greatness only, so they can be great themselves, if you know what I mean, or find their greatness. Because a lot of people, when you look at a lot of people, they're like, oh, life's so tough, life is this, but you have greatness in you. You might just be looking at it through one lens. You might be great in this area, but you haven't sort of tapped into that. So if I can round it up, and that I just want to help other people, expand on people's stories, and just give back
So if we can follow you, I guess, on your social media platforms, it's like at Farai Mudariki. We can find you on Facebook, Instagram.
Farai Mudariki 3
Sure.
on most things. And then just look out on my social media. I've got some big plans and things I want to show. Things I want to show people. So
Stuff in this too. All right.
Stay tuned.
My brother, this has been terrific.
That's been
we went longer than I thought, but there was a lot of jewelry in there that I was like, now we have to keep digging a little bit.
We keep digging. No.
You know,
it's all good.
So it's been terrific, and I appreciate the time.
I appreciate it.
And thank you for almost bearing your soul with us.
No, for sure. And thanks for
keep shining your light.
Long overdue. I was like, I'll link you. Nah, we got it done. We got it done.
I understand. Anyway,
thanks.
Thank you very much,
Blessings,
brother.